Hello and welcome to the New Blah Therapy Podcast, also known as LiveBlah. Today's topic is going to revolve around taking care of ourselves as well as others, so stay tuned.
I'm your host, Jimmy. I also go by the alias Guardian on the website. I found about the site by searching for ways to help other people because it's ultimately a passion of mine. So here are the members. Let me introduce you to them. Stefan, go ahead.
Yes, hi, I'm Stefan. I'm 27 years old. I'm currently living in this bureaucratic gulag attached to the United States, which is called New York. But it's also known as the Big Apple. I guess that's a slightly more endearing term. I'm a college graduate. I have a passionate interest in classical liberal philosophy, especially when it comes to ideas such as autonomy and self-governing communities. And that's actually what attracted me so much to Blah therapy, which I believe gets really close to that ideal of a non-authoritarian voluntary framework through which people can interact.
And we also have Kay.
I'm Kay. I go by Eliaris on Blah, and I'm 23, a stay-at-home mother, and I am really into health and fitness and yoga, and that's pretty much it.
All right, Stuart.
Yeah, I'm Stuart, or Stu, or whatever works best. I go by Sentinel on the website. I live in the frozen ice ball wasteland called Canada, and I was attracted to the website because I really need someone to talk to, and I've been there ever since.
All right, Jonathan.
You mean poet.
I'm so sorry, poet. Go ahead.
How dare you?
I'm so sorry.
I slap you with my glove and challenge you to a duel. I guess that's my name, poet. With a P and an O and an E and a T. I'm 26. I'm from California. I'm really out there. I guess what attracted me to Blah therapy is, like most people, I was sad and I wanted an ear. Because when you're sad, you want some attention. It's like the chicken noodle soup of humans. Whatever that means. People make you feel better. That's why I like Blah therapy. There's lots of nice people.
All right, that's a great one, man. All right, so now we have Rebecca.
Hey guys, my name is Rebecca Riley, and I am going by the alias of Integrated Yard on Blah Therapy. I am 23 years old, and I am from New Zealand, hence the strange accent that everyone on the panel keeps mocking me about. I have been married for 2 years, and I am a teacher who's currently without a job, but still looking for one.
I know how that is. All right, Jonathan.
All right, my name's Jonathan. I'm also 26 years old. I'm a former U.S. Army specialist, and my username on Blah Therapy is @BlackHoleHead. I'm back and forth on Blah Therapy because I tend to have decent advice from time to time, and there's a lot of people who need a lot of help in the world, and I like to find those people, talk to them, and see if I can give them a small reprieve from their troubles. Yeah, that pretty much covers it.
All right. Well, let's get this thing started, shall we? So our first topic is going to be based off of posts from the Q&A. One of the members asked, how is it possible to take better care of myself while still putting emphasis on taking care of others? What do you guys think of that?
All right, I'll take this one. All right. Taking care of each other is it's a selfless and noble cause. You know, most religions and most people carry the belief that taking care of your fellow man is the right thing to do. A very good example of this is it's a Christian book known as The Shack. It goes into detail about how people think of relationships the wrong way and end up being very selfish instead of thinking interdependently and everyone taking care of everyone's needs equally. Taking care of yourself is paramount, because if you don't take care of yourself, then you end up very burned out, and you're less capable of taking care of anyone else.
I'm going to agree in a sense, but I think that certain people certain people they give so much that they forget to try to keep some for themselves. I mean, it's such a common theme in today's society that, oh, well, you need to give. Oh, well, you need to give. You need to give. You need to give. You need to give. But when you look around, there's not many people who say, well, you should feel good because you're a good person. Or, sorry, it's not because you should feel good because you should feel good. It's you should feel good because you're such a beautiful person. You should be confident. It's people have lost track on how to actually care for their own mental well-being, trusting others to simply do it for them, or that they've just never had to, and now a lot of people are adults or young adults, and they're in a situation where suddenly the weight of the world is pushing square on their forehead, and they don't know how to deal with it.
Absolutely, man. And I think one of the things is like, so it can also be, a self-esteem issue. Like sometimes people like care about other people's like views on them, like their opinions and all that type of stuff way more than they do themselves, and so that can contribute to, or the lack of anyway, people taking care of themselves, especially mentally and emotionally. Like I do that myself sometimes, and it actually contributes to a lot of social anxiety symptoms. You know what I mean? So if people were to kind of, and it's also just associated with like selfishness. Like why should I focus all on myself in my like situation, and why should it be all just about me when it could be about other people in a sense? So it kind of depends, I guess, on the situation in person, of course.
And also, if you look at the dictionary definitions of selflessness and altruism, they kind of lead to the assumption that any action taken with the simple intention of benefiting others should be preferable to any other action. But if you think about it, that completely leaves out the quality and real effects of the actions we take. I mean, yeah, there are immediately seen beneficial effects, but there are also unintended consequences, which can only be seen later. I mean, this is a little bit abstract, but let me break it down. Have you ever taken or seen another person take an action that you automatically interpreted as selfless just on the basis of the immediately seen sense of pleasure and comfort expressed by that person?
Well, typically that revolves around like, a good feeling, right? Like when you're selfless, or, in a situation that you do something for someone else, you're typically, expecting some sort of personal gratification reward out of that,
Yeah, that's true, but I'm kind of referring to, I guess, follow-up and feedback. Like, for instance, I see people that are generously giving money to panhandlers and homeless people all the time, but there's really no thought about quality or follow-up. I mean, you think about it, the impoverished person could genuinely be trying to improve themselves with the money they've received, but they could also be hurting themselves, like, for instance, fueling their drug addiction. So I think my point is that a kind of selflessness without any quality control or follow-up, should we even consider that virtuous?
You got a point there.
Well, if you don't mind me chiming in, that's the thing when it comes to charity. Some people, they're too charitable. They give way too much of themselves, and they end up hurting themselves in the long run. When a person becomes so selfless that they begin to neglect their own needs in favor of meeting the needs of others, a lot of things can go wrong. They can develop a mental disorder, general health problems like fatigue, malnutrition, from overworking and undereating, and it can even affect their long-term self-image. They can begin to believe that they're not worth anything if they aren't helping someone else actively.
Okay. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
I posted a quote on the QA. It was about selfish versus humble, and I said that it's important to take time for yourself, but it's not considered selfish because of, what Jonathan was saying. You could really mess up your mind if you completely abandon yourself. But I put a quote by the Dalai Lama: "The more we care for the happiness of others, the greater our own sense of well-being becomes. Cultivating a close, warm-hearted feeling for others automatically puts the mind at ease. This helps remove whatever fears or insecurities we may have and gives us the strength to cope with any obstacles we encounter. It is the ultimate source of success in life.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Because I don't see how taking care of yourself doesn't also imply that you're taking care of others. Sometimes when we look at people and maybe we think they're only out for their own success and that they're selfish, we usually do that when they don't sort of like give away their whole fortune to, some tribe in Africa. But is it still not selfless if you're kind of ambitious and really determined to get what you want if it's just for your family? I'm just kind of thinking that it's really impossible to be completely selfish because everybody's doing something for someone. Even being out for yourself can kind of be inspirational to others, even if they don't know you're selfish. They see your drive and your ambition and they're like, wow.
A role model to society?
Yeah, I mean, we consider most of the celebrities, we kind of like act like they're snobby and that they're selfish, and like we kind of put a bad name on the term celebrity, but in reality, we're always watching them. We want to see them everywhere. We're basically idolizing them.
Because humans have a natural tendency to want to know what other people's lives are like,
That's odd.
Sure, we're incredibly social creatures.
More than we realize.
Yeah, well, it's the strategy that worked. Think about it. What do we really have over the animals? Not much, unless we're willing to cooperate. Like, we got these pathetic little nails, like teeth that, fall out within, 20 years if not properly cared for, and big heads. And if we can't use any of those, they're full effect, we're gonna get just totally dominated by Mother Nature. And because we have come together, we're the ones doing the dominating. We can argue how good or bad that is in the grand scheme of things, but regardless, we would have died out if we hadn't bound together. And I think there's definitely something to be said that we gain a lot of energy from that. But there are those very introverted people are definitely don't. They lose it. I've never really had that complaint myself. I'm almost 100% extroverted. Yeah, I think if you'll allow me to say, I think the problem really is that. Oh man, I totally lost my train of thought.
You could put a twist on that idea by saying that even if you're a selfish person or you look like one, as long as you're always trying to be the survivor, then you're doing the human race a favor. Because we are that fragile where sometimes I think of I Am Legend or those apocalyptic movies where humans just become easy targets for everything. That's the only time we realize how fragile we are.
Well, sure. If you're not going to take care of yourself, who is?
No one, unless it's your family. But they only can do that for so long, And
also, maybe it's just me, but have you guys not seen a selfless person who's sort of superficial in their selflessness, or maybe has ulterior motives? That kind of.
Well, it can be argued that all acts have ulterior motives, especially selflessness. Because even when someone performs a selfless act, they get a reward out of that. They get the reward of feeling good from helping other people, and that can be considered selfish underneath the selflessness.
Okay, but at some point, some people do kind of lose themselves and focus more on the reward than actually the benefit they provide, and they don't really seek feedback and quality,
This is like the idea of virtue versus duty. Are you doing it because you feel naturally that this is how I'm supposed to be and these are the things I'm supposed to do? Or do you do it because you want to gain some notoriety of being the good person?
If let's say I gave a homeless person $10 I would want to come back and see what he did with that $10 and how he helped himself. You know, I wouldn't just like give money without seeking any feedback.
Though?
Why is that?
Well, because I felt that I would feel that it's not. I'm not really helping if I don't kind of go back and check. You know what happened with the money.
The thing about that is that's like creating this fantasy of your contribution to the world. If you give some homeless man $10 and he's supposed to somehow change anything about his state of being, then it's like tricking yourself to feel better about what you did. When reality is, if you really wanted to help the person, you wouldn't give them $10. You like pull them up onto their feet and yell at them about what their priorities are or what's going on, why they're in this state. You like speak to them. You do what we do on Blah Therapy when you're listening.
No,
but on average,
I think that's a great point. But then you can take money out of the equation totally, and you could just provide the physical services they need. Like you can provide shelter, food, right?
Or job connections, of course. You know,
that would be the proof that you care.
See, you can actually you can help people in more than one ways than just financially contributing to their, their state or situation. You know, it's not like it's not, and also that would be super difficult to manage each homeless person's money by watching what they did with it. You know what I mean? What are you going to do? Follow them to McDonald's? You know what I mean? Like, it's probably not going to be the best way to approach.
No, but see, a lot of people do that. Like you see people at intersections, they'll just give a few dollars to a homeless person, and I'm not really sure that helps. You know.
Well, also keep in mind that go ahead.
I think that they're just putting faith in that they're gonna, help themselves because they can't go check up on them, so they're just, trying to hope for the best.
And I guess that's like a whole nother issue about faith, but.
And what would we as humans be if we didn't give back to those who are in need? You could also argue that people, do make mistakes and do have, their own situation, whether it be, drug or alcohol related. You know what I mean? Some people have those addictions where they just can't, get out of them in a sense without help. But you can also, contribute to their health in a different way besides money.
If I can just interrupt for a moment, guys, just as a teacher perspective. I mean, I don't know what it's like in America or in Canada, but from a teacher perspective, there's just so much going on in the kids' lives that you don't actually realize, and there's always something that, like, I don't know, it's so hard to kind of not tell the student off for their behaviour, but there's always so much more going on underneath it. And I think that it's so important to care for others and think about what's going on in their lives, but at the same time you've got to realise while you're caring for others, how much is that impacting upon your own self as well, which as a teacher is so hard to do without getting too personally involved.
Interesting thought.
That's a really profound point. I like that.
Thanks, Stefan.
The key word right there is personally involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I love helping others, but I've kind of found, especially over the last week since we've chosen this topic, that many situations in my life keep coming back to, am I doing this to help others? And if I am, how much am I also helping myself? Because I can't keep helping others if I'm not learning to take care of myself as well.
But as you help others, you can also, develop yourself as a person, because you're kind of learning, you're kind of taking the, in a sense, the focus off yourself and onto those people, such as, the kids that you teach. And as they learn new things, they can also, help you learn the new things that you didn't know, either about yourself or about teaching.
Oh, absolutely. I learn from the kids all the time. I feel like they should be the ones teaching me.
Never stop
kids
learning.
Are very wise. Oh no, never. Actually, kind of off topic, but in our New Zealand curriculum, one of the goals is that we will help to develop lifelong learners. and that's kind of through whatever situation we're in, we're encouraging them to continue learning. And I guess you can do that through any life experience, really. One thing though, like the question actually says, how do I learn to take care about myself? And so it's like,
yeah, that's true.
What kind of things can this person actually do to take care of themselves, I guess?
How would you not know how to take care of yourself, though? I mean,
it depends on the context of it. Like, is it like mental? Is it physical? Like what?
That's true.
Like what like context of like helping themselves do they mean?
She said. Sorry, go ahead, Pot.
Oh no, you go for it.
She said, I'm not sure that I ever have cared about myself, but I feel it's better to always make sure everyone else is happy, but not myself.
Oh, yes.
One of the things, though, is that you can't make everybody happy. You can try, but you can't. It's impossible. The only thing you can do is really try. But the more, if you put in too much effort, you'll lose yourself in the process.
Yeah, I totally agree. It seems like with that context, she's communicating a sense of being overwhelmed, almost consumed in a way. And so you don't want to get to that point either.
I have a friend who she's gone through she's had a pretty bad past. And the way she deals with it is that she totally engages with everybody else's lives, to the point where if you have a test, she will be like pulling her hair out about how you're going to do on that test. Or if like her brother or sister is like, in surgery, she's like, holy shit. And like she just takes everyone else's troubles and throws them onto her back. And every time I try to tell her that, that's totally unhealthy, you shouldn't do that, she just goes, no, it's better than the alternative. And she won't listen to me. That no,
what?
She's
pretty damaged.
It sounds like she's got a too much of a sense of extremism. It's too much the extreme one way or the other. She feels like she either has to care about people too much, or if she doesn't, then she feels like she won't be caring about people enough.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair to say.
That makes sense. That's strange. That's like a Superman complex.
And also, how much does that sense of wanting to care for others, how much does it come from obligation, like a sense of obligation attached to it, and how much is it just that you like other people genuinely, and you've gotten a chance to sort of build a voluntary friendship that, because obviously there's an element of obligation that comes with caring for family members that isn't there with friends, because with friends you sort of chose to be friends with them. So I guess, yeah.
Well, that's the thing when it comes to it. That's the difference between voluntary charity and mandatory charity. There's lots of people who are indoctrinated to believe that they have to care for others before they care for themselves, and that the only good that exists is when people think of each other, and so they become neglectful of themselves. And then things happen like they wait for someone to care for them as they've cared for other people. They start waiting for handouts instead of working to care and provide for themselves. And if that doesn't happen, they get bitter and resentful
and depressed.
Because the help that they gave did not come back to them.
Sounds like Tumblr in a nutshell.
Do you think it has to do with the lack of self-respect?
Or self-image or self-esteem?
Yeah, like they don't think that they're worthy of loving themselves, that other people have to do it, like Jonathan was saying.
Perhaps, and it could also be because, they can't, those particular individuals may not have that sense of like extroversion that is able to allow them to make those friendships and have other people want to help them versus the other way around. You know what I mean?
You mentioned self-esteem, and in one of my classes we actually talked directly about self-esteem. My professor broke down self-esteem into two different parts. She said there's fragile self-esteem and concrete self-esteem.
Oh, okay.
Concrete self-esteem is where if someone tells you, oh, you're a friggin' moron, you're just going to go, yeah, all right, buddy, whatever. You don't care. That what you are, and you know what you have, and you know what you're comfortable with, and you know yourself really well, to the point where, little things aren't going to bother you anymore. But fragile is when you have someone who has tried to build themselves up, and eventually the tower comes tumbling down, and that's when you get all the problems. I can say that with a lot of people in my family, depression's pretty rampant in my family. It's my mother's faulty genes. And I've seen it in, just in my classmates, is you have a bunch of people that they all leave elementary school or high school thinking, oh man, I'm the shit. I'm the best thing ever. Like, friggin' look out, world. Here I come. I'm going to grab you right by the nutsack. And they run out, and they just get slammed in the face just without mercy by reality.
Hey, and guess what? Guess what? Maybe people are afraid to become those arrogant people, and also combine that with a concrete self-esteem. You know what I mean?
And that's a good one too. Ultimately, it comes down to, I know someone mentioned what they're worth. I'm not sure who mentioned that, but what people believe that they're worth. And after a little bit, you start to believe that you're not worth all that much. That really, like, who has the time for someone like you? And like that just starts to become the only voice that you hear.
And when you have that kind of perspective or ideology, then that's going to also make you want to, not focus on yourself and focus upon other people.
Yeah.
Is that really a problem though? Like, if there are these sacrificial lambs of people who are like, I hate myself, but I'm gonna love everyone else. Like, this might sound weird. Should we be okay? Like, there are sacrificial lambs. Like, if we were animals, we can look at them that way. Well, if we admit it to being animals, we'd understand that some of us just don't make it out too well. And if these people want to throw their life away hating themselves and pretending to love others, because I don't know how you can love someone else if you don't love yourself.
I was about to say the exact same thing, Poet. Like, how can you... I guess it goes back to the question, how can you give so much to others if you're not giving to yourself? How can you love and invest time into others if you're not doing that for yourself?
Let's actually try to answer that. What would be a great way to start out by actually, with that question, by trying to answer it?
I actually have a go.
The first, you want to go with that?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
I actually have an article here from psychologist Gwen Randall Young, and it's about raising self-esteem. It starts off with a quote from Buddha, and we've seen it in the Q&A forums a few times, that you yourself, as much as anyone in the universe, deserve your love and affection. And it goes on to say that self-esteem is a measure of how much we value and appreciate ourselves. Undoubtedly, our childhood experiences have a major impact on this attribute. We may have received negative messages or given ourselves negative messages as a result of our experience or how we were treated. So we can arrive at adulthood not feeling very good about ourselves. This can block us from achieving the success we desire, or alternatively can prevent us from acknowledging the success we have already created. Once we become adults, our self-esteem is our own responsibility. We can no longer blame others for how we feel about ourselves. We must decide to esteem ourselves, to hold ourselves in high regard in our own minds. In order to do this, we must become aware of the criticisms and judgments we make of ourselves. Then we must commit to stop abusing ourselves in this manner. Sadly, often our own inner critic takes over the role from those who have criticized us in the past. This process may even be the subconscious. Next, we must decide to unconditionally love ourselves right now, not when we have lost the weight, gained the promotion, or found the right person. We need to eliminate all conditions we have placed on our worthiness. Finally, we must be independent of the good opinion of others. We can decide to value ourselves regardless of what others may say or feel about us. When these things have been accomplished, we can begin to like ourselves more. We can even start to love ourselves. With this, self-esteem takes a big leap forward.
Hey, and guess what? When you love yourself, and that's pretty powerful right there, but when you love yourself, it kind of goes back into the human follower thing. Other people will want to get to know you more. They want to see, well, how does this person really, like, they look like they're very content. They look like they're very confident. It kind of sparks interest in other people when you have that type of mentality.
It's definitely about the commitment, about wanting to change. I've seen a lot of people on Blah, we give out all this advice and whatnot, and I'll see them like a week later in an update, and they've gone back to step one because they're having trouble committing to getting better.
So then there's basically an element of self-responsibility that comes with helping people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
And that's another thing that's completely overlooked when it comes to self-esteem. It's that we are accountable to ourselves for the way that we treat ourselves. A lot of people they're very quick to place blame, and and all of a sudden the finger pointing starts, and sometimes it never stops.
I agree.
I think that would be a really sad way to live. Like blaming everybody else on things that you could change yourself with a different perspective,
Kanye West.
I think the other thing we need to think about, guys, in terms of how to actually take care of yourself. I read this quote recently, and I can't remember exactly word for word, which is so typical of me. But it begins with kind of, it sounds really, really cheesy, I know, but if you look in the mirror each day and tell yourself, like, positive things about yourself, you eventually start to believe it. If you speak positive words to other people, then you automatically start to think about those positive aspects of yourself rather than automatically thinking of the negative things. And as New Zealanders, again, I don't know what it's like for you guys, but we are so bad at automatically thinking about the negatives in ourselves. So it's almost changing that mindset to a positive mindset of yourself and others. But yeah, as a teacher, I've just noticed that words are so powerful and they actually can make a difference in people's lives. So if you... Sorry, go ahead.
Honestly, how can anybody be sad in New Zealand? That's the most beautiful country.
I don't know, but it really does happen, and it's kind of heartbreaking, actually. Like, in New Zealand we have, I don't know exact statistics, but people as young as 10 committing suicide, and it just literally breaks my heart. Like, how can they not have felt that love and support from others, or how can they not have felt that love for themselves?
As far as I can tell, New Zealand does pretty good on the list of not having many people commit suicide per year.
Yeah, I don't know exact statistics, but yeah, still quite heartbreaking.
It says that Nepal has 0 listed. in 2003, they had 0 people listed.
And that's pretty interesting, because we were looking at that Forbes article the other day, which was listing New Zealand as the 5th happiest country based on the happiness index.
Well, it's like
there's a happiness index.
Exactly.
Yeah, let me try to find that article.
I think as far as taking care of yourself, it's really it's simple to the point where most people don't want to address it. The easiest way to feel better and to take better care of yourself is to literally take better care of yourself. Over the summer, all I did was eat crappy junk food, and like I didn't do anything, and I was just super duper duper depressed. And once school started, I started eating much better, like fruit and vegetables every day. And not only did I lose a fair amount of weight, I started feeling better almost immediately. You feel better in the morning, like right after you get up, you feel just so much better. You have more energy, and it's just so much easier to face the day. And second is you need to know when to say, okay, time out. Because, I mean, eventually there's just too much going on in the world for you to just take it all on at once. Eventually you're going to have to go, all right, I need a few minutes. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, and like people should know that. There's nothing wrong with throwing in the towel for a little bit and having, a short respite. As long, within reason, of course. It isn't like, oh, crap, I feel bad the rest of the day.
That
But,
is
maybe you go take a bath or you
Listen
go
to
play a
some
few
music.
rounds of video game. Listen to some music. That's a great one.
Yeah.
Just do something to get your mind off of that. you know?
Yeah. De-stress.
The irony is they'll listen to some music that's the lyrics are about their exact problem and how they would like do something to themselves, but somehow it makes them feel better because they're like, that dude feels like me. I feel so much better that there's another psycho lonely person.
There's
It's a
that, and
relational aspect.
I read a study the other day about how if you read something or say something, the same chemicals go off in your head as if you had actually done it.
Wow,
I saw.
that's
Wow.
how selfish are we, man?
It really,
Like,
psychology for me has pretty much destroyed any possibility of there being true altruism, but at the same time, who cares as long as people are happy?
I know, just have a good time.
Yeah. Like, well, I'm helping you because I
Well,
want
I
to
just-
about.
5 miles.
What was that?
So, well, I just ran 5 miles. I feel really good about myself.
Sure.
And I'm also really tired.
Oh, that's the best feeling of tired in the world, though. There's only one world that beats that after the gym feeling, and I probably shouldn't say it.
Yeah. You know what that is.
Get that out of here. That's for another session.
Yeah, going back to what you guys were saying before, though, I think it's very much about that change in mindset of needing to care for yourself or needing to look after yourself. Or Stu, like he was saying about when you go back to school and starting to eat healthier and just changing your lifestyle. I guess that would have been a change of mindset for you as well.
To rewind just a little bit, that actually makes perfect sense. That a way to take care of yourself while taking care of someone else, it is sex.
Sounds like a perfect combination, huh?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I'm not
Oh,
gonna-
Yeah, I can tell you now. The sex therapy session that we're gonna have later is just gonna be marvelous.
It's going to be a series.
And so, I guess my question then becomes, is it possible to define selflessness definitively as a virtue?
I don't think so.
That's subjective to the person.
Pardon me for being a bit of a nihilist, but I don't think complete and, pure selflessness is even possible.
Because the
that's
rules
not
say once
nihilism.
you enjoy it, you're disqualified.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
see. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But that said, you definitely can have people that are more concerned with the well-being of others than they are of themselves.
But there needs to be balance,
Exactly.
It's good to actually care about other people, and it's good to also care about yourself as well. There needs to be balance, and to do that, you can do all sorts of things. Exercise, getting up in the early mornings, just actually taking risks and doing things differently than you normally do, and that will all contribute into your better well-being. Sorry.
And I think there should be a self-critical aspect to selflessness, like looking back and asking yourself, okay, I did this, but did I actually help that person? I mean, intention a lot of the time is good, but it's not enough. There's this saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
And there's also the saying that goes, the greatest harm can result from the best intentions, and I believe that's the wizard's second rule.
I love those books. Off
Yeah,
topic.
we will take a moment to nerd rage for Terry Goodkind. As a matter of fact, this entire conversation, I've been perusing over the book Naked Empire, and because that entire book deals with what we're talking about right now.
I've never heard of that before.
It does. It's a good thing to care for other people, but unless we care for ourselves first and meet our own needs, then we don't have the strength or the agency to spare to care for someone else. But there's one thing that's not taught about charity. Charity must be given voluntarily, or else it's just a soft form of slavery. Mandatory charity is veiled force. It's just force with a pretty name put on top of it. many people are indoctrinated to believe that they have to care for others themselves, as I said before.
So what you're saying is the government shouldn't be in the business of charity.
Uh,
A little bit of background to this. The antagonists are a group of people called the Old World, and they run this. I call it super communism. It's Terry Goodkind's pretty much a slam on what socialism is, I believe, and
it's actually a study between the differences between individualism and collectivism. But continue.
Yes. To put it simply, there's a society where it's a society that's basically festering. People are so concerned with equality that if things can't be equal, then instead of just making it equal for everyone, it's like, okay, well then nobody gets this. For example, if let's say you own a business, this is an example they have in the book. If you own a business carting logs, and there's 5 other businesses in town carting logs, and 3 of those businesses, like, they can't do whatever because their horses are lame or their carts break down, you don't get any more work because then you're stealing their work. So all the logs just sit and rot because no one can move them.
That's interesting.
So the whole society is slowly dying. The moment you can't work, all you do is go to a union and complain, and the union steals wages from everyone else to keep you fed. So it becomes a contest of who can whine the loudest. And everyone is totally self-obsessed with religion and how they are total scumfucks. And how the creator, his version of, the all-loving God, is said that he will come down and destroy everything because people are so terrible. It goes on and on and on.
Did you say scumfucks? Wow.
I did. I apologize.
That is dirty. That is like the dirtiest word I've ever heard.
Oh, wow. So there is, I know it's kind of off of what you guys were saying, but there's one thing I can contribute to this conversation about, like, taking care of, oneself. There's this thing called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Have you guys heard that before?
Of course.
I know you have.
He's a social psychologist.
Uh-huh. Have anybody else in the group heard of this thing?
Yeah, I heard about it when doing educational psychology.
Okay. So basically, this is something you'll pretty much hear in college, but basically it's a kind of a chart, a triangular chart about, like, what our needs are as human beings. The first one is... It's a pyramid, whatever.
Yeah, sorry.
Triangular chart.
Whatever. It's not 3-dimensional from here now, it's a triangle.
How dare you call a pyramid a triangle?
Hey,
So basically, the first thing we need, and these are all built upon each other. Like, I know this is kind of a stupid thing to relate it to, but it's like math almost. So basically, our first thing is physiological, right? We need breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, and this is a kind of a funny word, but excretion. We need excretion. So the next thing we need is safety, and this is relevant to our own, self-image and all that type of stuff. We need security of body, employment, resources, morality, family, health, and also property as well. And the next thing we need is love and belonging. This includes friendship, family, and sexual intimacy. Kind of goes hand in hand with physiological things, needs. But the next thing is esteem. We need self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect of others, and respect by others. But the last thing we need, and this all kind of molds into us as human beings, and something that really provides, the definitions by who we are, and that is morality, creativity, spontaneity, problem solving, lack of prejudice, and acceptance of facts. So those are all pretty much the things that we need as human beings. So if we deprive ourselves of one of those, such as actually loving ourselves in a sense, because that's the security of our own body, we're lacking something. We're missing something. We need to have that completely filled in.
And actually, the study that you're referring to is a little bit controversial. in that there have been some arguments that it fails to illustrate the differences between individualistic society versus collectivist societies.
Why is that?
Well, because you have individualistic societies. For instance, I would classify the United States as being more on that end of the spectrum. And you kind of, you have this ethos of self-reliance, and whereas you have collectivist societies more like in the mold of China, I guess, they have more concepts like related to sharing and a sense of community, which you have here in the United States too, but it's not as profound, I guess, in terms of the philosophical underpinnings.
That's taking us into a whole deeper topic of capitalism.
You want to know something interesting? The most common form of death in an individualistic society is heart attack or heart disease, and the most common form of death in a collectivistic society is viral or bacterial, just from people being together so much and getting sick, as well as, generally speaking, a lower standard of living. But they never get heart attacks ever.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it makes sense because it kind of is similar to the stories I've heard from my family. They're from Romania, communist Romania, so they've been telling me stories from their childhood and adolescence of how life was over there, and it's pretty gloomy. I can certainly see how the theory behind communism is definitely much more compelling than the actual practical application.
All right, so I guess now it's time that we discuss someone's topic or post from the What's New section of Blah Therapy, which I completely forgot about. And let's see here, go to the What's New. Confused with what to do next, keep holding on, or just go.
What's new? And then
I don't know. No.
That was some great encouragement.
I don't know. Okay.
This dude Tyler is thirsty
All right.
as hell.
Okay, fine. We're gonna go with Tyler. I wish I had a girlfriend. Well, and you feel alone. So the only thing I could recommend to you, dude, is go out and look for a girlfriend. Whether it be online or for someone, just try to put some effort into finding somebody, because if you're waiting for somebody to find you, that's going to take a lot more time than it would for you to put, unless if you were to put some effort into finding someone else.
Or save up your money,
That too. You want it really quick, just go that route. Just go that route. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot about that. Oh, and then we got Sentinel, sin boldly.
Hey, ignore that.
Alright. So, I want to thank the members for your participation, and thank you for the viewers in tuning into our podcast. Feel free to give us some feedback on the show if you'd like. We hope to see you next time here on LiveBlah. Until then, have a great week.